welcome table, there were some cards. I think some of you picked those up as you came in. And the reason that we have those today is we know a lot of people could be in this fellowship, certainly in our community, are being impacted by the government shutdown, particularly with what's going on with SNAP benefits. But there could be other needs also. If you yourself, or if you know of someone, it could be a neighbor, could be a family member, could be a friend, who has a specific need at this point, if you would write their name and address down on the card, and when we do the offertory, just drop it in, and we're going to send some Visa or MasterCard gift cards to these people to help them over this hump until hopefully things get back to some semblance of order in this world. But we don't need to necessarily know if you put your own name in there or if you put someone else's name in there. We're trying to keep this as anonymous as possible. But we do want to be able to offer assistance if anyone needs it.
Thank you, Lisa. Any other announcements? Okay, do we have any visitors here for the first time? Were you going to make an announcement? Okay, sorry, Annie.
Many of you who knew our good friend who passed this week, Derek, may not know that in the summertime he would go to foreign countries in the east or in the west and serve as a volunteer. And so eventually he did put his adventures and his experiences not only just of himself, but with people that he met who were also volunteering, and of course people that they served. So if you would be interested in his book, Rebecca has some copies still in her possession, and so you could speak with her later about the book.
What's
the
title?
Oh, the title is Turning Times, Stories of People Who Serve.
Thank you, Annie. Just a quick thing about Derek. Derek was a philosopher, most of you know that, and he was good at philosophizing. But if you read his book, one of those rare philosophers who's able to bring his philosophy to the world in terms of social justice and compassion. And that's an interesting thing about his book. Is you can see how he connects that. It's not just armchair philosophy, you know. It's he brings it down to earth.
Good morning. A couple quotes from Galileo. The Bible shows the way to go to heaven, not the way heavens go. You cannot teach a man anything. You can only help him or her find it himself. Carl Sagan was not an atheist. He called himself agnostic and suggested that the feeling of wonder science can inspire could be considered a type of spiritual practice or informed worship. He also said, for small creatures such as we, the vastness is bearable only through love. And then we have to include our women. Marie Curie. Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more so we can fear less.
Yeah.
Nice. Spirit of community in which we share and find strength and common purpose. We turn our minds and hearts toward one another, seeking to bring into our circle of concern all who need our love and support, those who are ill, those who are in pain, either in body or in spirit, those who are lonely, and those who have been wronged. We are part of a web of life that makes us one with all humanity, one with all the universe. We are grateful for the miracle of consciousness that we share the consciousness that gives us the power to remember, to love, and to care. If you have a joy or a sorrow or a concern you'd like to share this morning with the community, feel free to share it. Nick will give you a microphone. Anyone? Becky.
I'm joyful and thankful that I knew Derek Harrison for 23 years and that we had all kinds of adventures and grew from each other. I'm also happy that this congregation is full of good notes and words about the sadness of him going. So that's the joyful. Oh yeah, I'm sorrowful that people can't be healthy forever. But
Yeah.
that's the deal we take. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Becky. Any other joys or sorrows? Okay, let's share a moment of silence. And lifting up in our thoughts and our prayers those names that were just shared and those that are held silently within our hearts. Join with me, please. And rejoice together and grieve together as one. Help us to remember that every human heart holds its own joys and sorrows. Now we're going to hear from James and John while we're taking up our offering, and we're going to kidnap them. We're going to sell their house out from under them in Brevard and make them move down here. Come on up, Ed. It's great to have you.
It's great to be back. As we may have told you, we moved here in April, here reading Brevard in April. And we moved into a house that for 32 years was occupied and graced by Ernie, Bill, and some family. We didn't tell them about the rats in the basement. We're still looking. We're hearing that little scratching. Oh.
And we're sorry that our orchestra is only playing on this side, as well as us. So hopefully we'll be loud enough for everyone to hear us. I feel the current raging around me. Try to summon up my strength once more. I am weary on this journey, afraid I might not reach that distant shore.
I cry for help, feel like I'm sinking. There is no one near me I can see, but there you are in the water with me. You take my hand and guide me graciously. Will you come with me on this journey? Every breath we take, keep reaching for the dawn. I know alone I will falter, but with a good friend near me I will carry on. There is a kindness in your smile and a gentleness within your speech. You assure me your love surrounds me, and I know safety is at last within my reach. Will you come with me on this journey? Every breath we take, keep reaching for the dawn. I know alone I will falter, but with a good friend near me, I will carry on. It's an illusion we carry with us as we wade on through the waters of our lives, that we must be strong and hold our own here. But a helping hand will save us by and by. Will you come with me on this journey? Every breath we take, keep reaching for the dawn. I know alone I will falter, but with a good friend near me, I will carry on. With a good friend near me, I will carry on.
That great song was written by a gentleman named Joe Jenks. Anybody ever heard of him? He's a wonderful folk singer.
Joe James.
They used to have a group called Brother Sons. That's the name of their trio.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Go with me on this journey. And it is a journey to the work of this fellowship, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action we call community. We dedicate our lives, and these are our offerings. Now, we're going to read in your hymnal a reading entitled Love, and most of you will probably remember this or know this. It's from the Apostle Paul. Every now and then he said something that was good. 6:38. If I speak in the tongues of mortals and angels, but do not have love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal.
And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and knowledge, and if I have faith so as to remove mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing.
If I give away all my possessions, and if I hand over my body to be burned, but do not have love, I gain nothing.
Love is patient, love is kind, love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth.
It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. Love never ends. Prophecies will come to an end. Tongues will cease. Knowledge will come to an end. We know in part. We prophesy in part. But when the complete comes, the partial will come to an end.
When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child.
When I became an adult, I put an end to childish ways. Now we see in a mirror and a riddle.
Then we will see face to face. Now I know in part. Then I know fully.
Now faith, hope, and love abide, these three, and the greatest of these is love. Well, you may know that the Greeks had three different words for love. And of course, today we have one word, love, and it has to serve duty to a whole different vast variety of kinds of things that we humans behave and do. But the Greeks had three different words for love. And philios, warm, fuzzy feelings, romantic or erotic love. And then they had a term called agape. Some people say agape love. And Martin Luther King, when he was leading the civil rights movement, would, in his talks, oftentimes talk about those three different words and their meanings. Agape love is is not romantic love, it's not having warm fuzzy feelings for your friends or enemies, and of course it's not romantic love, but it's the kind of love that comes from a deep sense of the oneness of humanity, the solidarity of the human species, that we are all one, that we're whole, and that we're connected in ways that this doesn't realize, because it's not agape love is not a recognition, it's not cognitive, it's a deep, deep sense of feeling. I think of it as the bonds of sympathy or the bonds of empathy, that deep down inside we know that this person over here is part of who we are. And what we do to that person or those people, we in a sense do to ourselves. So that's agape love. And I believe that's the kind of love that Paul is talking about in this passage. So that's it. When I graduated from high school, I was inducted into the United States Marine Corps against my will, but I didn't have much say-so at that time. And they told us when we got to boot camp that we would be going to Vietnam, and we were all scared to death of going to Vietnam. But as it turned out, when we got to Camp Pendleton in California, they changed our orders and they sent us to, you're really going to cry when you hear where they sent us, because it's pretty rough. They sent us to Hawaii. But we were always all ready to have to go to Vietnam. One morning they woke us up 3 o'clock, told us to get ready, we were going to Nam. We go to the airport, we're sitting there, and you could hear a pin drop, we was also scared, but then changed orders, we went back. And anyway, I joke about the fact that when we got to Hawaii, they didn't issue us M14s, they issued us surfboards and sunglasses. Because I learned to surf. I learned to try to surf, but I wasn't very successful. Anyway, I remember this park in Honolulu, and I remember being struck by a big monument in the middle of this park, and it had a plaque on it, and I'll never forget what that plaque said. It said, "Man will destroy himself." And that really bothered me at the time, and I've never forgotten it, that we humans will destroy ourselves. That's kind of a grim thought. And I kept thinking, well, now, can we not counter that? Can something not save us from this self-destructive path that we seem to be on at times? So I asked myself the question, will science save us? And that's the title of my message this morning. Will science save us? Because that seems to be where we're headed, down the path of science and technology. But you could ask the same about religion. Is religion going to save us? Well, I don't know. It looks pretty grim at times that our religions would save us. I remember that, I was thinking about that Christmas carol, hate. I heard the bells on Christmas Day. Hate mocks the song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. So 2,000 years of Christianity, are we any closer to peace in the world than we are? So we could ask that same question of any human enterprise. Is it going to save us? And my question this morning would be, can we depend on science to save us? I want to back up just and start out this talk about science and will it save us by going back into mythology. And myth is not a lie. Myth is the playground of the human imagination. And it's a playground, but it's serious play. because people in the past believed literally in their mythologies, and they were willing to die or kill for it. So it's serious, not just child's play. Serious play of the imagination, but it's an imagination based on sources of the emotions and the instincts. So myth is not a lie. So I want to play around. It's fun to play with myths. I want to play with a myth, two myths, and one is a myth of Genesis and creation, the Bible. And I want to talk about the Eve of science, and by that I don't mean the evening of science, but I mean Eve, the character in the story of Adam and Eve. Because in my opinion, this is sort of a different twist to that story, that Eve is really the mother of science. And I'm going to explain that to you in just a moment. Now, I don't take that myth literally. I think that's an attempt on the part of mythologists in those days, people in those days, to try to address questions of how we got here and where we're going. So I see it more like a metaphor. So I want to focus on Eve's reaching out. If you know the story, Yahweh says, don't eat the fruit of this tree. If you do, you'll die. Don't even touch it. And we know that it's not Adam that disobeys, but it's Eve. And I want you to think about that reach. She's reaching out beyond the boundaries. She's reaching out of the box. She's taking hold of that fruit. She bites it, and the myth says that moment that she bites that fruit, her eyes are open. For me, the way I interpret that mythology is that here we have a myth about the opening of the mind, the coming of consciousness, which should not have been. Which should not have been. That particular myth says humans should have stayed in the garden of paradise and tilled God's garden. That's what they were there for, to till the garden of the gods so they could have food to eat. Better that they had done that and not done this. Because the question that the theologians, or wherever they are, writing the story is, what is going to happen to humans now that they have this mental power? What are they going to do with it? What's going to happen with it? Now, if you go back and you know that story, you see that it says that she saw the fruit. It was a delight to her eyes. So she had vision. She had vision. But it was not until she ate the fruit that it says her eyes were open. So there's two different kinds of seeings we see with our naked eye. And the neurologists will tell you today, the eye is not function to see. The function of the eye is not to see. The function of the eye is to bring light to the mind, and the mind does the seeing and the interpreting, what the light gives it. So the opening of the mind is a mythological way of saying, here's the beginning of consciousness, and it's a taboo. It should not have been. And so the biblical authors, whoever they are, who created that mythology, and by the way, myths are not created here. Myths are spontaneous workings of the unconscious. We don't sit down and create a myth. They're spontaneous. So they create this myth, but the fundamental question is, what are humans going to do with this new power? And if you know the story, if you know the biblical story, well, you know what they do. They build a Tower of Babel because they want to reach into heaven. And there again is that reach. They want to reach into heaven. And it just ruins everything. You know the mythology. God says, enough of this evil. I'm going to wipe it all out and start all over again. Kind of reminds me of that, what they say about doctors. They bury their mistakes. So we're just gonna bury this whole thing. I made a mistake, ain't gonna do it again, but things really don't change, you know. That whole mythology, Judeo-Christian mythology, if you look at the general picture, is that things are gonna end in conflagration. We're gonna burn ourselves to death. And you know the story of Revelation, Armageddon, the four vials. So that mythology as a whole says that humans are on the path of destruction. And of course, if you know the story, it's destroyed, and then there's a new creation. Some scientists say, well, that's history. You know, we have Big Bang, we're going to come back, bang again, back and forth, back and forth. But that particular mythology does not look positively upon human rationality and reason. Now you get an entire different mythology with the ancient Greeks. Because you have a mythology of Prometheus who steals fire. It's the same thing, steals fire from the gods and gives it to humans. It's the same thing. It's just a different twist. You're giving fire to the mine. The god Zeus doesn't like it, so he punishes Prometheus. He binds him on a rock, and every day an eagle eats his liver out, and his liver's replaced. He's tortured. If you know anything about that mythology of Prometheus, in the play by Aeschylus, it says Prometheus suffered for his love of humankind. Maybe that sounds a little bit familiar if you come out of a Christian background. He suffered for his love of humankind. But in that particular setting of Greek mythology, the Greeks slowly give way to their mythologies. They don't take their mythologies literally. They don't turn their mythologies into dogma and say, if you don't believe this, you're going to hell. They don't do that. Rather, they affirm this stealing of fire from the gods. It's affirmed. And there you have the real true beginnings of what becomes modern science. And the belief that everything could be rationally understood, guided by logic and reason. And then you have the big names you all are familiar with, Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, who are really the fathers of science. But don't forget, they come after Eve, the mother of science. She's the one, remember, that said, I'm not satisfied living in this box. I'm going to reach out. And her reaching out is what put us on the moon. Her reaching out is what founded penicillin. Her reaching out. And that's what we're always going to be doing, is reaching out and trying to discover not only what is out there, but what is within here. Now, and we all know what happened to that scientific enterprise started by the Greeks with Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. It was smashed by the Christian church. And I don't need to tell you all the history of those scientists, some of whom were priests, and what happened to them during that period when science was basically pushed aside and even persecuted. And people like Bruno Giovanni, who put forth, he was a priest, he put forth a different view of the universe than the Bible. If you go to Germany, Berlin, there's a statue of Bruno. He's upside down, he's naked, and he was burned alive for his scientific views. So you all know what happened to science during that period. And it was not until the Renaissance that there was a small revival of science and the scientific view of the world, but then in the Enlightenment, there was really a big push for science, and science gained dominance during the Enlightenment, and so that's where we are today. But again, I don't have to tell you, there's conflicts even today between science and religion, particularly Christianity, in our culture. And there's an effort in our culture to make America a white Christian nation. And if that was to ever happen, I would leave this country, because it would be pure hell if that happened. Anyway, did you get that quote? This is a modern praise of science. I just wanted to show it to you. This is where we are pretty much today in terms of how scientists think about scientists. It is science that gives us the assurance of a constant world in a changing universe. Scientific thought fixes the point of rest, firmness, and stability in the unmovable poles. There's no second power in our modern world which may be compared to scientific thought. It is held to be the summit and consummation of all human activities, the last chapter in the history of mankind. And I can look at that quote and say, I only wish it were so. Because I don't agree with it, and I don't believe that it's going to be the last chapter in the history of humankind. We owe science a lot. We owe a lot to science and the scientific endeavor. I mean, just think about medicine and health and all the cures that science has created. But then think about technology and that other side of science. Science has brought us penicillin, but it's also brought us the nuclear bomb. Science has brought us penicillin, but it's also brought us plastics. It's also brought us cell phones and computers. And I can't tell you enough about cell phones. I had this vision the other day of people walking this beautiful, gorgeous mountain trail, waterfalls, snow-capped mountains, and they're all doing this. Serious. Anyway, we owe a lot to science. But the question, will it save us? And, you know, Don in his newsletter, if you read his newsletter, he said, Ernie's not going to do a bait and twist. So I'm going to do a bait and twist. I baited you with that title, but I'm going to twist it a little bit, because the real question is not will science save us or religion save us, but will we ourselves save us. One of my favorite lines in the book of Job is when God says to Job, your own hand will save you. Your own hand will save you. Look to yourself. Look to who you are. Look to your core values. Look to the deepest part of your being. And there discover your connection to all of life, that agape love. So, you know, what I say is it's whatever's in our hands, whether it's religion or science or philosophy or whatever, the question is not that. The question is, what are we going to do with it? Are we going to build bombs and drop bombs, or are we going to drop bread? And it's up to us. And unfortunately, in some cases, it's up to our leaders. And our leaders aren't doing a very good job right now of helping us make bread and drop bread. But I believe in my heart of hearts that we're going through growing pains. That's what I believe, that we'll get through this and we'll come to this recognition that we are in fact a global community. And we've got to allow our religions and our moral values to catch up with our science and our technology, because they're lagging way behind in the medieval period. And we've got to catch up. I love what Joseph Campbell says about the earth flag. He says, perhaps maybe one day the earth flag will represent a new symbol. Because on that earth flag, you don't see all the nations, different colors. This one's red, that one's blue, this one's green, this one's purple. It's just one globe. And then you see the blue, you see the white, you see the oceans, you see the earth. And it was his hope that that could be sort of a rallying point to bring that realization that we are one, we are global. What we do in Gaza affects us here. What we do in Ukraine affects us here. What we do in Russia, what we do anywhere, because we're all one. And my hope is that we have some person who comes along like Jane Goodall. If you heard her final address, if you haven't heard it, please listen to it, because it's an address of hope for the saving of the planet and for the saving of each other. So will science save us? Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But will we save ourselves? I believe we will. Thank you. I'm going to get the big head when y'all do that. My hair will fluff out like that. Okay. James and John, close our music. Take us home, brothers.
Take us home. This is a song by another wonderful, singer named Carrie Newcomer. No? Anybody? Here she is.
Let our hearts not be hardened to those living on the margins. There is room at the table for everyone. This is where it all begins. This is how we gather in. There is room at the table for everyone. Oh, too long we have wandered, burdened and undone, but there is room at the table for everyone. This is where it all begins. Let us sing the new world in. There is room at the table for everyone. There is room for us all, and no gift is too small. There is room at the table for everyone. There's enough if we share. Come on, pull up a chair. There is room at the table for everyone. No matter who you are, no matter where you're from, there is room at the table for everyone. Here and now we can be the beloved community. There is room at the table for everyone. There is room for us all, and no gift is too small. There is room at the table for everyone. There's enough if we share. Come on, pull up a chair. There is room at the table for everyone. Let our hearts not be hardened to those living on the margins. There is room at the table for everyone. This is where it all begins. This is how we gather in. There is room at the table for everyone. There is room at the table for everyone.
We are so blessed to have y'all willing to come from Brevard and share your wonderful talents with us. Small token of our appreciation. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Said to my daughter and to my husband that y'all just radiate joy, and it's such a pleasure to have you here. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
We're going to kidnap you. I'm going to build a 4-lane highway from